So right now I'm in Dyfi Junction, just finished the Trans Cambrian Trail. I set a new fastest time from east to west. It's a ride that goes across the width of Wales, starts in Knighton, finishes here 168k. And what has been an absolutely brilliant ride. I've been wanting to do this for years, and the scenery, everything I've seen along the way has just been absolutely magic. Really enjoyed.
For anyone who's not heard of the Trans Cambrian Way, this is a trail that was originally created by IMBA UK, and it's designed as a 3-day mountain bike route that crosses the width of Wales. It uses existing rights of way, and it is 70% off-road. Starts in the border town of Knighton and ends in Dyfi Junction, which is just south of Machynlleth. There's a train station there, so it makes one-way trips quite possible. Although this is all quite local to me, I've never actually completed it in its entirety, so decided to give it a shot. The route does lull you into a little bit of a false sense of security at the start. The first 5k are on the road, it's nice, it's flat, really easy going, and then it's not until that first climb, about 5k's in, that it starts to get challenging. The first really big climb up is a real challenge. Just a big steep grassy slope, and yeah, it forced me off my bike for this section.
Not a bad morning, even if I am walking on the bike.
Once you're up on top, the views are really nice, especially on the type of weather that I had. And there's some fantastic riding, lots of different types of tracks. There's a lot of junctions and lots of paths shooting off, so navigation's really important. And there's also a lot of sheep, although this is Wales, so probably to be expected. So for navigation, I just used my Wahoo Element Bolt, had a route plugged into that, and it proved brilliant. I'd definitely recommend anyone does it with a GPX file. So there's all sorts of different tracks, single track, double track. Some of it's rougher than others. For the day one section of the route, I'd say a mountain bike or a gravel bike is absolutely fine. There's no real advantage to either. There are some sections towards the end of the first section of route towards Ryder where it gets a bit rougher. For this, a mountain bike would be a little bit faster. This is lots of fun little single track towards the end. But overall, day one section is suitable for pretty much whatever bike that you have. So after you leave the town of Ryder, this is a good place to stock up if you need to. There's a short section of road, and then you've got a big climb up which leads to a fantastic off-road descent. This is kind of an area where I know, this is what I'm most familiar with. Really careful, make sure if you've got your GPS on and you're following the track and not the tracks on the ground, because they go all over the place. There's a few sections here where it will definitely be a little bit faster on a mountain bike to start off with, but on it again, the early sections are fine on a gravel bike. As you're coming down overlooking Cabin Coch Reservoir, it's just beautiful, and on a day like I had, one of the nicest sections of the route. Also, lots and lots of gates, although luckily this one was open. So sections, open terrain still, where you're following sheep tracks or 4x4 tracks, quad tracks, a few little gullies to skip across, and lots of nice views to enjoy. further down you drop, the rougher it gets. Overall, you know, maybe a couple of minutes faster on a mountain bike on this section, but nothing too crazy. And yeah, lots and lots of gates. So soon after you pass the edge of Cabin Core, things get very different. It gets much rougher. This is a section where I probably lost at least 10 or 15 minutes over riding a mountain bike. You can get by it on a gravel bike fine, but it's so rough. You're just picking your line, being really careful, and having to jump across things where on a mountain bike you'd be able to ride it no problem at all. You're trying to avoid the stones right on the edge where you can. And the whole time you're riding this knowing that there's a road parallel on the opposite side of the valley, which it's a beautiful road. So this 3k section is quite a bit of a slog on a gravel bike. Claerwen Dam is where Top Gear did a trick a few years ago where they drove a Land Rover up it, so quite famous from that. I will admit that I took the Worcester's option. I didn't ride through the river, and instead I went across the bridge just to keep my feet dry, because it was such a dry day. Up until this point I'd still managed to keep my feet dry. Really short section of road, maybe a kilometre or so, leads you up to the top of the dam wall. If you're not in a hurry, it's a good place to stop. Some fantastic views, and then you head off-road onto one of the most beautiful sections of the whole route as you go around Claerwen Dam. It goes in and out of lots of different valleys as you go in, follow the track going round. The only thing is it's been resurfaced, or rather there's a load of stone that was chucked down on it a few years ago, which makes it really sharp in places. They basically just chucked a load of sharp stone down to cover the potholes. So you're riding down hoping that you avoid the stones and don't pick up a puncture. And then you get to another beautiful section of road which skirts around the edge of the Tivy pools. This is a little road which just winds in and out, up and down. It's absolutely amazing as you're coming this way, because you're coming downhill. It's one of the most fun roads that you can ride on any type of bike, mountain bike, gravel bike, road bike. So after the brief respite, you're back into wilderness and back off-road. This section is probably one of the most barren and most isolated of the whole route. And then you get into an area around Havod Estate. It's not somewhere I've explored before, but there's just single track everywhere. Another place where a mountain bike would probably be a little bit faster. Definitely a lot of fun here on a mountain bike. Still quite possible on a gravel bike, you're just going a little bit slower, there's nothing too technical. So after Havod and after Cwmystwyth Valley, climb up into Meherin Forest. You see there's been a lot of work, forestry work going on at the moment, but it leads to a nice long fast descent which takes you to Llangwrig, which would be normally the end of the day 2 section. From here there's a really nice off-road climb up into Havren Forest, and then I was actually really pleased to get onto a section of tarmac again. By this time starting to get really tired, and any little sections of tarmac, especially fast ones like this, and I had a nice tailwind, were all the better. Help make some time up. After the village of Stay Little, there's a huge climb up onto the top of the moors again, and more gates, which leads you to this section. And the probably the most technical, roughest descent of the route. On a gravel bike, I was just riding down this, trying to be careful, trying not to get a puncture, because it's all slate, and on a mountain bike you'd blast down it. Gravel bike, you are inching your way down. The further down you go, the better it gets, the easier it gets, and then you start getting, it's kind of the beginning of the end, although there are a few killer little climbs and downhill sections. There's probably 30k to go and you think, oh, nearly there, but there are a few sections that really caught me out. By this point I was also really running out of water, and I was glad to know I was close to the end. By the end you get to be a gate opening expert. Must be at least 100 along the route. And then the final section from the road to Dovey Junction train station.
Made it. 9 hours 33 minutes. Been pretty good. Say I was getting pretty warm at the end, running really low on water while I'm out of water now. Apart from that, everything's good. Bike, no problems. Yeah, pleased.